Hello and welcome to Cruising and Musing. I am your host, Rob. Please click that subscribe button. We want to get up to 50 subscribers so we can do live streams and answer questions and take comments and hopefully start to have more of a dialogue than a rant and ramble. It'll definitely be more interesting for you, and I know it'll be more interesting for me. Maybe eventually we'll even be able to have conversations with other educational professionals. That being said, one of the educational professionals that I have been watching, since I decided I wanted to do some YouTube videos and kind of express myself like this, I've been looking at other teachers that have found their way onto YouTube, both former and current. And I've noticed for a while now, the why I quit teaching video is perhaps the most common video that you get from people. And, for all the obvious reasons. And a fellow I've taken to watching that has made a very high quality YouTube channel compared to this over the last few weeks, Dr. John over at Echelon Education Institute. He releases videos right before my lunch break each day, so I can watch his video. And I've taken to replying to his videos in text, but he does this thing on Fridays where it's devoted to the why I quit teaching videos, where he, listens to someone's story or reads someone's story of why they quit teaching and talks about it. So, riffing off of that, this is why I haven't quit teaching. Number one, I haven't quit teaching because I feel like it's a short-term solution to a long-term problem. And it's the same thing that kept me going when times were the roughest, right after the crash of '08 when I was still in college. Quitting college would have been the short-term solution or a long-term solution to a short-term problem, as would have been doing anything more drastic, which was definitely contemplated from time to time, because those were some very, very bad times. Moving past that, though, number one, short-term solution, or long-term solution, short-term problem. Reason number two, I'm not quitting, is that I believe in the program I work in. We are not your standard school. We are a virtual program. I typically would be working with students that have gone out of their way to come to me and want to learn in this style. And the style of learning that goes on allows me to, give that student the extra 2 minutes of help they need or the extra 2 hours of help they need when times are normal. This is the kind of program where if I could have been in it as a student, I would have flourished and done extremely well and probably would be willing to go back to college at this point. I have a bachelor's degree, and going to college and going to high school made me hate being in school so much that I refuse to be a student again. I refuse to go back for a master's or a doctorate. I will have read all the books and mastered all of the information that somebody in a doctorate or a master's course would have taken, but I can't make myself go back. I'm not willing to pay for it, number one, and I'm not willing to subject myself to paying someone else to make me sit and go through that. No, it's just, I can't. And I bet it's really weird to hear teachers say they hated school and they hated college like that. Part of why I wanted to be a teacher was because, I did have a couple of teachers who made me hate school less. And I thought that if I could come back and be a teacher like them, maybe there'd be a kid like me someday where I would be the hand that would reach through and teach them not to hate learning despite hating being in school. And that's, kind of really where I was I liked to learn, but I hated being in school. And that's, our program is very good for those students. The ones who like to learn, regardless of how good they are at it on their own, we will give them the tools to make them good learners. But if they like to learn and they hate being in school, we are a great place for them, because we eliminate all the side bullshit that makes them hate being where they are and enables them to learn and become independent learners and lifelong learners. And like I said, 2 minutes or 2 hours, I can give the kid that time in normal circumstances. Now, starting with the pandemic and post-pandemic, we have been overloaded with student numbers. We were already, our normal workload of students was the same as teaching 8 out of 8 or having no planning period as a teacher. And we were willing to deal with that because, side things of, working online. Hey, I don't have to spend 2 hours in the car commuting, so, if I have to work 9 hours a day, I still get a net gain of an hour. So there was some give and take with the program like that, definitely compensated working that 8 out of 8 uncompensated. But it was not a monetary compensation, it was a quality of life compensation. So there is that still works in our favor, but, right now, I started off the school year at 200, or about 175% of what my load was. Last year, I will have to go through the full story of what they did to us, but they had some of the teachers loaded. We were supposed to have 160 students, and some teachers had well over 350 students assigned to them. That's, it's like having a classroom designed for 25 kids and having 40 students in it. The teacher in that classroom, no matter how good they are, they're not going to be as effective as they could be, and the kids are not going to learn what they could be learning. So if my numbers went out of control like that, that would definitely make me quit. But I've got a feeling that the worst is behind, and, this plays into the next reason. My administrator and my principal and his assistant principals, I feel do have our back. I know that my principal has fought for me in the past and has continued to fight for us throughout the pandemic, demanding that myself and my coworkers receive better treatment and better considerations from the district, and has protected us from some of the worst that the district wanted to do to us. And, even on the personal level before the pandemic, he might have always tried to get as much as he could out of each and every one of us. He always treated it more like a management position than an administrative position. And, managers aren't great leaders, but he was a leader doing his best to be a manager, I guess. But I trust him to always have my back, and I trust him to always try to do what's right by myself and my coworkers. And knowing that I have him fighting for me, and having heard so many stories on all of these Why I Quit Teaching videos from the various teachers, talking about administration who did not have their back and who did not fight for them and who were abusive towards them. The fact I have administration that's on my side, that I can trust, that I don't feel would ever throw me under a bus, who I know has gone to bed and risked their own jobs fighting for myself and my coworkers, I don't want to leave. It's hard to find a boss like that. I hate to sound like a fanboy, but, this is the kind of guy where, if we were in an army squadron, I've got the officer that I would follow into battle. Those other officers might all be pricks. Some of them might be better at what they do than him. But this is a guy I'd be willing to risk getting shot for, not those guys. So, the administration there. So, again, just as a recap. Long-term solution to short-term problems. I don't want to enact that. Like the program. Really believe in the administrator having my back. There are, ancillary, non-monetary benefits to being at the school I'm at. And there's some costs. It's a give and a take. It's not like on the balance beam, it's not that, everything is balanced perfectly and it's balanced really in favor of my position. It's just that the things that have come off due to the position I'm in are things that matter a lot more to me than they probably would matter to someone else. The other aspect of this is that I am not financially hard up. Do I live the lifestyle I wish I could live, having a 4-year degree, No, I live a lifestyle that's pretty much what I would have expected I could have lived if I had gone to work as a mechanic or an electrician. Honestly, maybe not even as good as that. But I also choose to live with a comfort cushion of, like I'm not going to stretch my income to the limit so I can have the $300,000 house in the cul-de-sac neighborhood. I don't want to live like that. I can't, again, I would not survive the stress of living through another year like 08 and 09 and not being able to get enough money together, working 3 jobs to pay my rent or pay my mortgage. So I've made it a point to live well within my means because I'm fully aware of that, and it terrifies me. The thought of overstretching myself monetarily to live beyond my means like that just terrifies me. And it's had the payoff of, yeah, I get paid the same as the other teachers, but I don't hurt the way they do for cash because I live well under my means. And as you can tell, I'm rolling around in 2 Lincolns. I don't exactly have a lack of nice things. I couldn't buy it new. When I started teaching in 2011, when they made the last Lincoln Town Car, I definitely couldn't buy one. I couldn't even buy a used one. But when I found this one for $5,000 a year and a half ago, well, that I could definitely afford. In fact, I bought it with the summer payout money because I had already had my mortgage paid off the whole way through the summer. So, there is that. That's, another reason I won't quit is that, well, the money is not a lot of money. It is a lot of money to someone who grew up in a trailer park and grew up, living well below the poverty line. So I don't hurt the way that people have a different expectation of lifestyle hurt when they are teachers. Then rolling past that, I also see where there's, there's a teacher shortage, a severe teacher shortage. Florida, I think on the last news report I read, was something like facing a 10,000 position shortage statewide. When you're talking those kinds of numbers, a perfect opportunity for group bargaining to go up. Labor shortages are always the perfect time for labor unions to negotiate increased benefits and increased pay. So I am definitely looking forward to over the next couple of years, hopefully getting, if not more, monetary concessions via the union, because our union is not very strong, not very powerful, and honestly not that reassuring or inspiring. But I am hopeful that we'll start to see, some monetary compensation come in, some raises, some bonuses that are not coming from the state level, but on the local level. See some of that come in, and as well as some non-monetary compensation, like getting renewed on 3-year contracts instead of annual contracts would be nice. If say you've been highly effective for the last 2 years, your next contract that you renew on, it can be a 3-year contract that's self-renewing, so you don't have to go into the end of each school year not knowing whether or not you have a job until the middle of May. That would be good. Concessions like that I'm looking forward to seeing, hopefully. Why else am I not quitting my job? Part of it is I'm just too stubborn. It's just, kind of how I am. I don't like change. And I absolutely hate looking for a job. I absolutely hate the interview processes. I hate the applications. I hate the personality profiles they make you fill out. So, to some extent, I have very seldomly switched jobs as I have lived because of how much I hate hunting for new jobs. Um, Going on with why I haven't quit yet. This is going to sound like a complicated, well, I didn't get into school or go in for teaching for the same reason others did. Like I said, I hated being in school myself as a student. Absolutely hated it, like with a relish. And I don't like kids that much. I didn't go into teaching because I love being around kids. It's why I work with teenagers. They're old enough to rationalize with and treat like adults. And in fact, most of them will respect you more and do more for you if you treat them like they're adults and speak to them like adults. You know, but as kids, you don't talk about things you shouldn't talk about with the kids with them. Looking at you, TikTok teachers. But that they feel respected when you talk to them like they are on the same level as you, and that's where I really like working with teenagers, is that I can rationalize with most of them, and I remember what it was like being their age. And because I understand why they're doing what they're doing, and I understand when they have no idea why they're doing what they're doing, I can really make a difference working with this age group of students. But I went into education not because of some great love of kids. It's because I loved to learn. And I really, when I was interning in high school, helping the science teachers, I would sometimes, get assigned to help this group with this, thing, help them go on. And I found I really enjoyed that. And, I wasn't the most popular kid in school, but I just kind of existed. I could walk into any group and have a conversation with them. No one hated me, but no one adored me. So, I got to experience what it was like to have somebody be grateful of me taking the time to help them learn something, and the joy of seeing the light bulb go off and hearing the change in the voice of when they went from struggling to now they get it and now they can explain it. And I liked that experience, and that seemed satisfying. And I don't like change. Now, definitely being in school as a teacher is different than being in school as a student. That's for sure. But I was kind of signing up to go stay within the same environment that I was comfortable with at that point, and wouldn't have to go through much change. So again, part of this, why I'm not quitting, it's who I am. The thought of uprooting everything is more trouble than it's worth to me. Like, we would have to be talking to 6-digit salary to get me to uproot and shake everything loose and change completely. The other part of this, continuing on with the bit, is that I absolutely, how to put this, because this is going to be where I either win or lose people over on this idea. I hate ignorance, and I hate willful ignorance. With the Don't Say Gay bill, which was, it's the Parental Rights Act, but the Don't Say Gay bill, I have a coworker that I was talking with about it, and he would not, refused to even read it because all he knew was that it was called Don't Say Gay, and he wasn't going to read it, and he was therefore against it because it was called Don't Say Gay. Excellent messaging on the political, whatever PR guy decided for that political group to, push that as Don't Say Gay and that being the bill. Bravo. Freaking brilliant PR move doing that. But at the same time, it's an old trick. They did the same thing with the Patriot Act. No one wanted to be the person voting against the Patriot Act, even though it was the least patriotic law to ever be passed. We'll have a rant about that another day. So my dislike of ignorance, my hatred of willful ignorance, I felt that if I was going to make a change in the world, being a teacher was the place to do it. This was where I was going to stop people from being taught to hate learning and not to conflict being able to learn, and conflict learning with education and education levels. I think it was, there's some sort of Mark Twain quote floating around about his capacity to learn having managed to survive his education, or something like that. Or, he became learned despite his education. Some sort of quote to that effect. And that's really how I feel about it, is that a lot of the things that go into public schools, private schools, a lot of the things we make the kids learn, a lot of it's pointless. There's a whole separate video about the way we need to overhaul modern education to take into account for the fact that, yes, everyone's walking around with a calculator in their pocket. Yes, everyone's walking around with the collective knowledge of mankind in their pocket with ready access to it. And we need to, start acting like that's a fact instead of trying to be old-fashioned about it and get with the program. There's a severe update we need to do. As much as I love history and love teaching history, we can't focus on teaching facts about history. We've got to focus on the lessons that we can take away from history and how not to repeat history, because that's not what you're going to be able to get reading a history textbook online. Whereas you can go up and you can get who won what battle and when what battle happened, from Wikipedia. So there's that. So that's, why I'm not ready to quit teaching, because I am on a one-man war against ignorance and willful ignorance, and I'm not ready to quit yet. And we have gotten back to the house and have driven out about a quarter of a tank of gas with all these different takes. So we're going to stop here. And once again, please hit that subscribe button. Leave me a comment, some sort of feedback or a question to ask, helps guide things. Look forward to more videos in the next short time period, because I got a number of other topics I also want to talk about. But that is why I am not going to quit teaching yet.